What have your tape breakdowns, people you've talked to, stuff that you've done in person, told you about Caleb Williams?
Well, I'll start with what I've seen in my own study, which was, last year was unbelievable, the way he played. And I think that's where all the excitement came from and all the attention. And then, casually watching this year, obviously they start out, the schedule's not great and he's kind of doing the same things. And then the schedule got tough and you're just kind of watching on TV and you're like, okay, gosh, he's holding the ball a lot. He's trying to do too much. And kind of thinking, okay, man, maybe his play really, really fell off. And there's some numbers that'll support that. But then I went in and dug into the tape. And when you go in there and watch the tape, one of the things I saw was, man, the interior of the offensive line at USC was not very good. So as the quality of competition stepped up, he was under constant duress. And there are times where I wish, there were layups available, checkdowns available. He got into some bad habits of not taking those and trying to do too much, trying to get down the field. But when you combine how bad that defense was and what they had to do offensively to win games, I think he started pressing a little bit. But when I went through everything, I watched everything, I still came away thinking this guy is so freakishly talented. And some of the throws he can make are so unbelievable, and just a natural thrower of the football from any arm angle, any platform. And there are examples when he had clean pockets where I've seen him work quickly through progressions, get to number 3, and get the ball out where it needs to go. But so I came away thinking, okay, it wasn't a perfect year. I think maybe in the long run some adversity was good for him. But this is a pretty rare talent in terms of all the things he can do.
So what questions would you want to ask him if it is your responsibility to come up with that final report, to vet him about his the soft stuff? What do you need to know from him about him? What are you asking other people about him? And what would you ask him?
So for me, like the stuff on the field is all I'm okay with, and I think anything that he needs to improve with on the field is very coachable. So that would not be where my focus would be. To be honest with you, if I sat down and the first thing I would ask him, I would say, walk me through your preparation week. Let's start with Saturday night. The game ends. You go home. Walk me through your week. What does your week look like to get ready for the next game on Saturday? Tell me what you did on each day, what you were studying, how you were taking care of your body, what you were doing beyond what was required of you by USC. I want to learn about the work habits. Back in the day, it's come a long way because the questions have gotten better. But I'd sit in some of these combine interviews and coach would ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your work ethic? Like, well, I don't know, 10.
A 2. I play video games all day and drink. Right?
Come on. But to me, I'd say, hey, I want to see your notebook. Show me your notebook that you used this year to take notes as you're getting ready for opponents. I want to see how, to me, there's different levels to this thing in terms of the great quarterbacks. I want to come through this process and find out, is this someone who is, interested in football? Is this someone who's invested in football? Or is this someone who is completely obsessed with football? Because if you're going to put the keys to the car and all of our jobs on the line, I sure as heck want somebody to be as passionate or even more passionate about it than I am.
The hard part, though, is quantifying that and quantifying
That's why
it.
You need stories. Yeah,
right.
You need examples and you need stories. And to be honest with you, I need proof.
Are you hearing anything that's giving you pause about this regarding?
No, I haven't. And I've actually, the teams that I've talked to that have gone in there and talked to all the coaches, all the support staff at USC, everything's been real positive. Good, good worker, good teammate. This is someone who really likes football. There was the stuff that came out about Kyler Murray. Remember when he redid his contract and they had to put in there that, he needs to watch X amount of hours of tape, and it ended up being this huge firestorm, situation. I've heard nothing along those lines with Caleb, but I would love to be able to talk to him, personally, as I'm sure all these teams will get that opportunity. I may or may not as we get through the process, but that's the kind of stuff where in the old days you could say, I watch a lot of tape. Now you can pull up the numbers from the school if you have the connections, and you can find out exactly how much tape that you watched.
I mean, that's a valuable tool to have. I think the question becomes, if it is a concern, how much of it do you think would affect a team trying to draft him?
Oh, I think yeah. If that were a concern, I think yeah, you'd have to really really spend a lot of time with him and dig down on that and get to the place where you feel comfortable. But I'm hopeful that what I've heard from a vague standpoint is confirmed in the specific standpoint of this he's committed and he's all in and he wants to be great. He's been preparing for this for a long time. And, from the very first time I remember seeing him on the college field when they're playing in one of the biggest rivalry games in college football against Texas, and he comes in there and saves the day. I don't think that, being 1-1, being the number one overall pick and putting a city's expectations on your shoulders, I think this guy's kind of wired for that.
Who do you think the best wide receiver in this draft is?
I have the same exact grade on my top two guys, but I would stack them right now. I would have Marvin Harrison, then Rome Odunze, and then Malik Neighbors. I think they're three elite players. Odunze is my favorite player in the draft. I've been on record as saying that. I think he's unbelievable, and I don't think there's much difference at all between him and Marvin. So I gave them the same grade. I think all three of these guys are going to be special. It's just kind of a little bit of what you want and what you're looking for in that receiver.
Are there any centers in this draft? Maybe not at the top of the draft, but I am laser focused on the center position.
I'm still working my way through. I go during this time of year. I reach out to teams as I have to put out a top 50 list. And so when I reach out to teams, give me the names, and I'll usually come away with initially about 75 to 80 names. And then I'll get my first top 50 list out, and then I'll work on from there. I've got a couple names that were given to me that I haven't got to yet, but there was nobody when I asked about, pure interior offensive linemen, first-round caliber players. I talked to 7 or 8 teams, and not one of them said there was one that you would take in the first round this year. There's the tackle from Washington who I did, Fontenot, who's a great player. Some teams think he'll be a guard. And then Graham Barton actually would be the one, the tackle from Duke, who will more than likely play on the interior and can play center. He's a first round caliber player. But those would be the two.
I know you're studying film of J.J. McCarthy today. I saw you do a little bit of it on your Twitter page. What do you think about what you've seen out of him? Good. I talked to teams when I was getting ready to start the process, and they're a little bit split on him. Didn't have a lot of conviction that he was going to be a first-round pick. So I'm going through these guys. He wasn't one of the first guys that I got to. So I had seen a little bit on him, and then today is I've watched 3 more games, and so I'm digging in. And it's kind of one of those guys. The more you watch him, the more I appreciate him, and the more I like him. He's got a live arm. He can, he's not asked to do a ton there. They run the ball as everybody knows what Harbaugh wants to do. So he's not a high-volume passer. But he can drive the ball, especially in the seams. He's got a loose live arm. He's a good athlete, can extend plays and make things happen there. He just, accuracy down the field on the outside was an area he could improve in. But I thought pocket awareness, pocket feel, he's got a lot of positive traits. And when you look at the number of teams that need quarterbacks or have aging quarterbacks, I won't be surprised at all if he made his way into the first round.
Daniel Jeremiah, always solid information, entertainingly presented. We appreciate your time.